Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. For today's lesson, we will be talking about techniques used to study the brain in relation to behavior. So, brain imaging techniques or neuroimaging are non invasive methods, which means that we do not have to cut the skull in order to study the brain. So, the five most used brain imaging are the CAT scan, PET scan, MRI, fMRI, and the EEG. So, an exam tip in the book explains that neuroimaging is not necessarily a research method in itself, but rather it would be what is included in other research methods. So it's important to know what they are and their functions. And underneath that includes a table also in the book that summarizes the five brain imaging techniques. So the CAT scan, or computerized axial tomography. This uses X ray scans in order to study the brain. Bone and hard tissue absorbs X ray better than soft tissue, so this is used to reveal structural features of the brain. MRI scan, or the magnetic resonance imaging, uses radio frequencies and magnets to study the brain. It is usually compared to the CAT scan because both of them have the same purpose. The main difference is that the CAT scan uses X rays while MRI does not. fMRI, or the functional magnetic resonance imaging, functional because it can show ongoing brain processes. fMRI uses blood oxygen levels instead of radio frequencies. Bold, or blood oxygen level dependent signal, is what is used in the fMRI scan, and it is measured in voxels. Next, we have the PET scan, or the positron emission tomography. In this process, a radioactive tracer is injected in the bloodstream. This is used to see brain processes. Like the fMRI, it uses blood for looking at brain processes. The radioactive tracer decays quickly, so it's safe to use. The PET scan is useful for detecting tumors, dementia, and other diffuse brain diseases. Lastly, we have the EEG, or the electroencephalography. This measures electrical potentials, or in simpler terms, the brain processes. It uses electrodes and computer technology. It can see brain activity up to the level of a single neuron. It is often used to diagnose epilepsy and sleep disorders. Sleep disorders because the EEG could detect the brain waves, which is what is usually looked at when one is sleeping. So, some terms related to brain imaging are spatial resolution and temporal resolution. Spatial resolution is the ability to distinguish from nearby locations. So the other processes and other parts of the brain that you're not looking at, you will be able to distinguish that from what you're actually looking at in spatial if you have good spatial resolution. Temporal resolution is the smallest time period where changes in the brain activity can be measured. With good temporal resolution, you can see ongoing brain processes with accuracy. So, some advantages and disadvantages. The CAT scan is quick and non invasive because it only uses X rays. One MRI advantage is its non exposure to radiation compared to the PET scan. And because of this, it has a less risk of radiation induced cancer. It also has better resolution, which is useful for abnormalities detection. The fMRI has excellent spatial resolution, which means we can see brain processes really well. The PET scan has smaller scanners, So this means that it could be used on smaller patients, such as rats. It is useful for detecting tumors, metastases, and other diffuse brain diseases. The EEG has perfect temporal resolution, and it is capable of detecting changes in the brain activity. It is low cost, silent, and completely non-invasive. It could also be offered as a mobile device, as the device can be manually transported. It also directly measures neural activity. So the disadvantages. The CAT scan involves some level of radiation exposure. A person with metals in their body cannot undergo an MRI. It could also trigger claustrophobia as the machine is very small in space. Children could be scared because of the lengthy process and of the noisy machine. It is also expensive. The high resolution sensitivity can lead to incidental findings. The fMRI has many similarities and disadvantages of the MRI. It has poor temporal resolution. It could also be an issue when one has claustrophobia. It is expensive. It is long and noisy. And you cannot undergo fMRI if you have medical implants. The PET scan has poor temporal resolution. And another disadvantage is its administration of radioactive chemicals. The EEG has extremely low spatial resolution. It is not good for subcortical activity measurements, and experience is needed for good interpretation of results. And that is it for this lesson. See you on our next lesson, where we will be talking about hormones.